Hello, and welcome to our very first edition of Generation Talks. In each episode of Generation Talks, we'll be addressing various topics geared to help our current and prospective students, our wonderful alumni, our gracious partners, and other nonprofit organizations. Now, I'm your co-host, Kwanzaa, and I'm the recruitment manager for Generation's Regeneration IT program in Jacksonville, Florida. And now I would love to introduce you to my wonderful co-host, Lou.
Hello, everybody. I am Lou Jones, and I am in Dallas, Texas, and I have the honor of being the instructor for our customer care and customer service supervisor program right here in Dallas.
Thank you, Lou. Now, on this episode of Mental Health and Wellness, we have a very special guest for you, Rachel. Rachel, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Hey guys, thanks so much for having me on the show. My name's Rachel. I'm a program lead for Generation US, and I have a master's degree in social work from Florida State University. Before I joined Generation, I worked as an outpatient therapist with children and families in the dependency or foster care system.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us today, Rachel. And audience, please remember that if you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comment box. Now, Rachel. I'm a recruitment manager, so I'm often out in the community connecting with partners, going to community events. I interview all the prospective candidates for my program, and then I'm in the office connecting with my coworkers or meeting with my team members. And I really miss going to work every day. I miss interacting with my coworkers. So what can I do, or what can we all do to keep our spirits up during this time?
Yeah, great question. This is something that everyone is starting to struggle with as we all move into our homes for social distancing. So while we are physically apart, luckily, there are so many ways for us to stay connected. The internet, social media, video communication platforms are all a great way for us to stay connected with our coworkers, families, friends, our students. And if you're new to the remote work environment, I really recommend trying a video meeting on either Skype or Zoom and some sort of inter-office messaging tool like Slack so that you can have fun conversations. Before your meetings, you might want to try fun icebreakers so that way you can still get that virtual chit chat going with your coworkers and it's not all work all the time. Also, try to remember that working from home is usually considered a luxury. So try to take some joy in wearing your pajamas and petting your dogs while you're reading your emails.
Okay.
Wow, I love that advice. I definitely take advantage of wearing my pajamas. So, for me and my wife, we have a 2-year-old. And so we are also working from home, but trying to balance having a 2-year-old. So what advice would you have for people that are working from home, but also have their kids with them and trying to balance all of that?
Yeah, this is so hard. So first of all, accept that these are totally unprecedented times and there's no rule book for how to do this. So you can try your best and things are going to get messy and that's okay. No one can be a perfect stay-at-home parent, homeschool teacher, and a full-time employee all at the same time. So try to be as open and honest with your employer as possible and let them know what your limitations are going to be because of your family situation. Second, you should really try to prepare your days as much as possible. So prepare a reasonable schedule for you and your kids that keep them busy as much as possible and give you that free time to work. And then also, third, be flexible. So this means answering emails during times when you would usually be off the clock and allowing your kids a bit more screen time or different activities that are new for them. So again, these are unprecedented times. We're all figuring it out together. You don't have to be perfect. Ask your friends and family how they're coping and try and share what's working for you too.
Thank you, Rachel. Now, what stood out the most from what you just said is be flexible. I think that's like parenting 101. You got to come into parenthood being flexible. Now, what about our mental health? Do you have any tips for our mental well-being during this time?
Yes. So a lot of people are experiencing anxiety due to the uncertain future. And also we're seeing a spike in depression because of the increased social isolation or perhaps loss of job or loss of income. So first and foremost, if you usually see a therapist or a doctor or take any medication, make sure that you are staying vigilant with your normal routines and seeing your doctors through telehealth or any other way that you're able to see your doctor. If anxiety and depression is a new experience for you, just try and pay attention to when you're feeling these new emotions. So if, for example, watching the news 24/7 is making you anxious, limit your exposure. You're in control of that. If your financial situation has changed, you're in control of researching local and national support for unemployment relief. And you can also be contacting some of your debtors, like your mortgage, utilities, and credit cards, to set in a plan that gives you a little peace of mind. Also, try to reach out to your friends and family when you need. Just because we're staying in doesn't mean that you need to feel isolated or alone. We're all in this together.
Wow. I appreciate that advice. I definitely will take note of that. For me, when it comes to physical health, I've been used to working out 3 to 4 times a week. And so now I'm finding it hard to stay motivated. So please help.
Sure, yeah, and it can be hard when our routines get set out of motion and we can feel really out of whack. So one of the best things we can do during this time is to try and stay as physically active as possible. So it might not be what you're used to, but there's still a ton of things that we can do. We can still go outside for a walk or a run. We can take your kids outside or your dogs. We all need that fresh air. Try some online yoga classes. There's a lot of free yoga classes for all levels. And now actually a lot of gyms and training platforms are offering free online resources. So this is a great way for you to try out that kickboxing class or that Zumba class that you didn't want to do in the gym, but you're comfortable doing it at home alone. So check those out and make sure that you're staying as busy as you can. But also don't beat yourself up. If you don't exercise as much during this time, that's okay. It's totally fine to Netflix and chill. And you don't need to make yourself feel guilty about that.
Thank you, Rachel, because don't beat yourself up is exactly what I needed. Like, not only giving other people grace during this difficult time, but giving ourselves grace as well in that area. Okay, now I got one for you, Rachel. We have CNN, we have Fox News, we have the BBC, we have the CDC, Google, Yahoo. I mean, we have access to all types of information. And a lot of the information is very scary. How do we make sense of all this information without getting panicked?
Yep, it is so easy to catastrophize and think of the worst case scenario when there's so much uncertainty and there's this constant news cycle. So the best thing to do is take the situation day by day. Don't think too far in the future. We don't know where we're going to be, and listen to your local officials and your local situation. Each city and state is handling things differently, and information is constantly changing. If you're having trouble with that 24-hour news cycle, I recommend limiting yourself to 1 or 2 news checks daily. I check in the morning and I check an hour or 2 before bed because that constant checking only adds to the hysteria. Also, in your conversations with friends and coworkers, steer the conversation away from the coronavirus. We all continue to have lives and work and other things to discuss outside of this. So make sure that you're still talking to your friends and family about other items. Also, when at all possible, try and focus on the positive things. So focus on the things that you can control and try to make a mental or written list of things that you're grateful for.
Wow, I appreciate that. So for the individuals, based on what you were talking about, dealing with a lot of stress, do you have any, suggestions?
Absolutely. So feelings like stress, anxiety, fear, hopelessness, and depression, those are completely normal and expected during this time of global uncertainty. There are a lot of ways to deal with and move through these feelings, and each person is different and will find different things helpful. So I have a few suggestions, and I think it's important to just try and get to know yourself and try them out and see which works best for you. So first and foremost, be aware of your resources, local and federal, to help get through these times. So financially, and also our new health resources that are popping up in each city. Check out telehealth resources for therapy and also for virus testing. Apps like BetterHelp are great ways to speak to someone virtually. And you can always call your insurance provider to see what sort of virtual therapy sessions would be covered under your insurance. Also, try and make a daily schedule and stick to it. Like I said earlier, you can list out your daily gratitudes. There's always something to be grateful for. Make sure you're staying connected with your friends and family. Move your body, walk, run, bike, dance, try a hobby. I'm growing a little garden. Read some books, try and foster a pet from a local shelter, anything like that to keep you busy and make you feel like you're having a positive impact during this time.
Mhm. Thank you so much, Rachel. Now, we actually have a question. Christina asks, what are some positive affirmations you all personally use to help get through the day during this stressful time? So, Christina, me personally, the one thing that has carried me thus far has been this too shall pass. We've been through turmoil before, we've been through trials before, and we've overcome those in one way or another. So my daily affirmation thus far is this too shall pass. What about you all?
So for me, I really just try and think about things that I'm grateful for. And one of those things is the internet. We are so connected in this world in 2020 that even when we are all apart, we can still stay together. So I've just been reminding myself we're all in this together. This doesn't discriminate. It's affecting every single person. So we can all relate to each other's trials and tribulations, and we're all in this together.
That's awesome. I know for me, I save just a list of affirmations. I might even look some up on the internet and just repeat every day to get my day going. And then I just stay focused on the positive. Like you said, this too shall pass. And so for me, that's what I really focus on, to set my day so that I don't wake up and the first thing I do is open up the news and read it. I definitely start off with the affirmation. And so we do have another question, a question actually from Tracy. They said, what advice would you have for couples for that person? One of them is working from home. One of them is actually in the office. And so what type of advice would you have for a couple?
Yeah, so this is actually the situation that I am in. So I'm working from home and my husband goes to work at the hospital every day. And so I have a couple of things for advice. So for all of our medical professionals, we are so grateful for them going into the hospitals, into the doctor's office every day. So just being aware of the sacrifices that your partner is making, still going out and into, our crazy coronavirus world on a daily basis, and showing them that you're grateful. And then also I would say, when you're cooped up in the house all day, sometimes when your partner gets home, you're really excited to see them, you want to talk to them, and maybe they need to unwind. So just ask them, do you need to unwind before we have dinner? Or just try and make sure that you're still sticking to a regular schedule so that your partner, isn't bombarded as soon as they walk in the door, and that you guys still have quality time in the afternoons and evenings.
Great.
That's awesome. Well, we want to just thank everybody. We're coming to the end of our show today, and we just want to say thank you for everyone that could join us by live. And if you were watching the recording, if you have any further questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and somebody will address those on our next show. And so I want to thank our special guest, Rachel. Thank you for joining us, Rachel. And I also want to thank my wonderful co-host, Kwanzaa. Thank you. And so I want to give a special thanks to everyone else for joining us today on Generation Talks. We'll see you soon.